We're back with the Accountability Works Summer Wellness Interview Series. I'm Marissa Boisvert, and today we're going to talk about brain health with Becky Brown. Becky is an Accountability Works certified coach, a registered pharmacist, and national board certified health and wellness coach with over 30 years of experience in treating chronic diseases. She had a personal interest in brain health and received additional training in Dr. Dale Bredesen's Recode 2.0 protocol and assists clients with a family history or genetic risk for Alzheimer's disease to adopt the research-based lifestyle interventions to prevent cognitive decline and improve brain health. Hi, Becky.
Hi, Marissa. Good to see you this morning.
Yes, bright and early. Thank you so much for making time and sharing your wisdom. How did you become interested in developing your expertise in brain health?
Well, it's kind of a personal story, and actually, it's what led me to become a health coach. So, I've always been interested in like how to prevent and treat chronic diseases more naturally. And I think this comes from my father had diabetes, and I remember for years he treated that just by dietary changes. So in knowing my family history, I always kind of thought, okay, what can I do to make sure I don't go down that same road? And then enter my husband and his family history, which was a family history of cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease. And so then my kind of interest in research sort of veered in that direction. And then especially we both did the 23andMe and discovered that we each had 2 copies of the APOE4 gene that can increase your risk of developing Alzheimer's or cognitive decline. But have no fear, it's just a risk. It's not a cause. So, and just interestingly, there's a lot of research out there in epigenetics where, yes, genes, they believe, account for about 20% of your health and how you age, and then it's actually lifestyle that accounts for the other 80%. So research shows that by dialing in those modifiable lifestyle factors and adopting a brain healthy lifestyle, you can eliminate that risk. You can in fact like turn off the bad genes and turn on the good genes. So that's kind of how I got interested in, and so kind of around the same time we did the 23andMe, I'd heard about Dr. Bredesen and this research he was doing on like a multifaceted protocol to prevent Alzheimer's, and even some people he's treated and reversed it. So, and I heard about this in like fall of 2016. And so, of course, my personality, I did a deep dive into it, reading everything I could find on his research and his protocol. And then by December 2016, I found myself in an auditorium in Nevada, California, with about 100 other healthcare practitioners for a 4-day training with Dr. Bredesen on how to help patients implement the protocol. So that's kind of how I did that.
I love hearing that. And I can't believe, again, the 80% lifestyle.
Yes, yes. And he also emphasized during this training, like how important and the need for health coaches kind of in the care team, helping people implement the protocol. So I looked into health coach training programs. And by February, 2 months later, I ended up at Duke starting my journey into becoming a health coach. So it's just like kind of how, I guess I have my husband to thank for it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think again, though, like you said, I love how that interest led you to become a health coach, and then obviously led you to us. That just makes me happy. But yeah, as a health coach myself, understanding, right, our role is really in walking with you through the actual behavior changes. So having that part of the care team, as we know, whether it's health or we're working on anything, is critical for all of us. So,
Absolutely.
so what are the top 3 issues that people come to you for?
So a lot of people, people with concerns on their brain health, especially if they have a family history of cognitive decline, and they kind of want to know what they can do, what they, how they can prevent it. I also have people coming just wanting to age health with health, to age gracefully. Aging is inevitable, and they just want to do it in the best way possible. So there's that whole thing. So your health span matches your lifespan. So a lot of people come with that. They might be older, have grandchildren, want to keep up with them. So I see a lot of clients like that. And then I've had several clients for smoking cessation. I have training in that also to help people with that.
Wonderful. Where do you start with someone who is noticing changes or having any issues?
Yeah, so with the brain health clients, depending, a lot of times they might just have subjective cognitive decline. They're noticing things. So usually I'll start with getting a baseline MoCA test, which is the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. And then I actually have them complete a self-assessment that looks at all those modifiable lifestyle factors that influence cognitive health. And so they fill that out, kind of get an idea of where they think they are, where they, want to go. And those lifestyle factors include nutrition, obviously, exercise, sleep, stress management, stimulation. And by that, I mean staying mentally and socially active, and then even detox. And then there's also kind of look at supplements. And then, of course, mindfulness, always mindfulness when you're doing that. And then we look at some of the risk factors that they may have, if they have diabetes, if they have high blood pressure, cardiac issues, if they have inflammation. So we'll kind of look at that. And then after that self-assessment, I kind of help them decide where they want to start dialing in their lifestyle, where they want to start making some healthier choices.
The first interview in the series, we talked about sleep. And I feel like, again, this is something that we are just hearing more and more about, people struggling with sleep. And as women who are middle-aged, this is something that becomes very common, the sleep disturbances. And I recently came across this article that was talking about women who are beginning perimenopause and going on, which can start as early as 35 for women, that they are using cannabis to help treat sleep. And what really piqued my interest here was that they said, okay, it's effective, but one of the risks is that women can be more susceptible to developing dementia. And so there's a bit of concern of saying, okay, we're using cannabis, it's helping us sleep, but what is this doing to the brain? And for women, in particular, what could it accelerate dementia, all of that? And I found that to be very interesting, because I feel like these are all, again, like very hot topics right now at this point in time. So I'm just curious, are women actually more susceptible to developing dementia?
Yes, unfortunately,
Right.
is true. So
Right.
around twice as many women have Alzheimer's disease, which is the most common type of dementia, compared to men. And then also think of it this way: women are disproportionately affected by Alzheimer's. About 2/3 of Americans that have dementia, Alzheimer's disease, are women. And about 2/3 of the more than, I think it was said, like 15 million Americans that are providing care and support for someone with Alzheimer's are women. So not only are they more affected to develop the disease, but they are also affected by taking care, being the caretaker for a loved one that has it. So they're like we're doubly affected. And just even taking care of someone with it can be very stressful. So it's so important, for if you are a caretaker, to take care of yourself, do those healthy things for yourself too.
I can't believe women are twice as
I know. I know.
It was
And
so funny that was wrong, and then learning that it's
so
right.
I know, it's true. And then some of it because like just think of it. So your brain not only is affected by nutritional deficiencies, but also by hormonal deficiencies. And what happens to all of us women at perimenopause, menopause, we have a drop in our, decrease in our estrogen levels. And recent research shows that there are many estrogen receptors in the brain.
Interesting.
So they wouldn't be there if estrogen didn't support brain health in women. So, the good news is there's a lot of research on this now, and there's a lot of good news. Just like, just good news on like reinterpreting the Women's Health Initiative study and what that means and how, like, even how to treat menopause, perimenopause, and all those symptoms. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because as I talk to women, some women who are many years older than me that have had family history, maybe of dementia or Parkinson's, and they're starting to experience the brain fog or that
mhm.
difficulty in concentrating or that memory loss. And talking about it and very scared, are these early signs? And a lot of times my initial response is, no, it just sounds like you're in perimenopause, like you're in it and you're beginning to experience, like you said, these hormonal shifts that are causing these. But I think what we're talking about is that we have to pay attention to those. And I think for all of us, just getting ahead of it and maybe getting levels checked if you're noticing that, or if you have a history, just so you can have that peace of mind yourself of going, is this something bigger, or do I just need to slap on a patch and call it a day, right?
Right, right, exactly. Yes. I mean, my advice is don't let any physician, OB-GYN, internist tell you that, oh, that's just normal aging. That's menopause. You can't do anything about it. No, there is a lot you can do about it. And and really all this new information and interpretations of the Women's Health Initiative, like where all of a sudden nobody was like, no, we don't want any kind of hormone replacement therapy. I just from my experience as a pharmacist, I used to work in a compounding pharmacy and we did a lot of, bioidentical hormone replacement. And it's, if someone is experiencing that, I suggest they find a doctor that is well versed in hormone replacement, well versed in all the symptoms of menopause, which are varied and very diverse for something different for everyone. And get your levels checked. Have a discussion, pros and cons of hormone replacement, and then make an informed decision.
Excellent. Thank you
Yeah.
for that, Becky.
Yeah, I have some good resources for women's brain health. So there's The XX Brain, a book by Lisa Mosconi,
Mhm,
excellent. And then she just came out with one this spring, The Menopause Brain.
mhm.
And then the one on my list by Dr. Mary Claire Haver is called The New Menopause. I haven't read it, but just by reading some of her works, listening to her on podcasts, I think it would be a really, really good one about menopause and just how to protect everything, bone health, brain health, the whole gamut for us women.
I love it. And again, just that reminder of don't ever be afraid to ask to have things checked.
Yes. Advocate for yourself. Exactly.
Advocate for yourself. And, if you're concerned about insurance and, navigating that, what's covered, what's not, I would call ahead of appointments. I've gotten in the habit of that. If I'm going to make an ask, I'm going to call ahead and find out if certain testing is covered. So just a little, pro tip there that I think is
Good, good
really
idea.
important.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that stops people, but it's better to know before you go than to maybe be surprised on the other end. And I was lucky enough to have a doctor tell me that many years ago, and I have taken that advice and applied it for various things.
Yeah, that's excellent.
So, Becky, what are your top three recommendations or resources for people that are experiencing brain fog, memory loss, or not feeling as sharp? And this can be
Yeah.
for anyone.
So one of the first things is don't wait until you start experiencing symptoms to start taking action to adopt those brain healthy, lifestyle. Because research has shown that, and especially if you have a family history or you have some genetic risk for it, because researchers have found that there's brain changes happening 15 to 20 years before you have any symptoms. So it's not to say that it's not going to help if you start having symptoms to make changes. Of course, it's going to help. It's going to slow any kind of progression, may even reverse it. But that's the biggest thing is, don't wait till the symptoms show. Take care of your brain, just as you would take care of your heart. What's good for your brain is good for your heart, vice versa.
Mhm.
So, and then I would say, dial in that metabolic health, which includes, your diet and nutrition. First off, eliminate ultra processed foods. That's probably one of the easiest things that, they are a lot of the inflammatory foods, sugar, simple carbohydrates, exercise. When you exercise, your brain produces something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and they describe it as like fertilizer for your neurons. So exercise is so, aerobic, strength training, balance training, all of that, and then quality sleep. Can't emphasize that enough. And then biggest thing is if you snore,
Mhm.
can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to be tested for sleep apnea. Because Dr. Bredesen talks about people who have implemented his protocol like to the T, and they're not improving. And then all of a sudden they discover they have sleep apnea. They get that corrected, and everything is big. So that's a huge prevention. Yeah. If you snore, get tested seriously. And I think a lot of people like avoid it because they don't want to use a CPAP machine. But I'll tell you, like my husband was tested, and the doctor sent us to a sleep apnea dentist, and he has a dental appliance he wears at night that keeps his, jaw shifted forward. So it doesn't have to be a CPAP. So that might help people decide like, oh, I could do this.
I'm glad you just said that because I was thinking that exact thing because we've all seen those commercials. You're like, I don't want to be that person if I don't have to be. Like, how hard
Right.
does it have to be? But that's really interesting. I've never heard that.
Yeah. Well, in
Snoring-
fact, I think my husband's sleep, no, sorry, Jeff, I'm telling you stories was like 16 or 18. He got the dental advice. They retested him. It was down below like the cutoff, like down below 5. I think he was like around 4, which is like a huge improvement. So that was probably, given his family history, probably one of the best things we've done.
So, how do you think accountability supports someone in their brain health habits and changes?
Yeah. So, not only do do clients need to coaching on what to do and how to start making these changes, but they need to know that they're not in it alone. So checking in with them on progress, acknowledging their successes and effort is key. And so often I find like clients that are concerned about the cognitive decline, and they hear all these things they need to do, and they think they need to do it and start it all at once and immediately. And, that only increases their stress. And like we had said, that stress is so hard on your brain, and it just compounds the problem. So I find that accountability helps manage that.
Mhm.
The accountability helps them start small and to build on it as their confidence and success grows. I think it's key to their success is having someone to check in with, kind of help them stay on track, get back on track, and just kind of figure out how to fit it all together.
Mhm. I couldn't agree more. Um, but I think, when we think about accountability, we do oftentimes think about, we're going to say something we're going to do. We're going to check in on it. And yes, that is critical, right? In any type of change that we're making. But what really stood out to me that you said was the piece about speaking to it. And I think that's something that we can all relate to of like we hold so much in, but when we actually get into the habit of voicing what's
Mhm.
going on without filtering it, like we over here, we like to refer to this as observation without judgment, where we're just in the habit every week of showing up and speaking to the things that we're focused on and how much better you feel when you do that and you are with other people that are doing that. I still feel to this day, after doing this for so many years, that that might be the most powerful part of our practice. Like you said, one of the biggest takeaways I've had from you today is just start now.
Yes.
Start now. It doesn't matter if you have
Yeah.
family history or not, just do one little thing that's gonna put the odds in your favor, right? It's like,
Right. Right. And like I said, not just like all these things are the same for heart health, for brain health, for metabolic health. It's all the same lifestyle modifications. So if you can like eat one more vegetable today, take a walk, yeah, do a meditation, it's all going to help in the end. It's all going to take you closer to healthy aging.
it really does. We are lucky in the work that we do to witness this week
Mhm.
after week.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Becky.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next week.